It's free for anyone. The greatest impact has been in developing countries, where it's often been impossible to access a commercial screen reader. But even in the developed world, Nvda is making a significant impact also. For over 7 years, NV Access has been developing the Nvda screen reader and providing it free of charge for all who need it. As NV Access is a charity, it primarily relies on donations and grants to achieve its mission. To date, NV Access has received such financial support from companies such as Mozilla, Adobe, Microsoft, Yahoo and Google. Since its inception in 2007, the right... I've just lost my iPhone is just completely dropped my hand. Always had the aim to lower the economic and social barriers associated with accessing information technology for people who are blind and vision impaired. The company is thus dedicated to the ideal that accessibility and equitable access is a right and should be available to anyone, no matter their language, location or economic status. Although NV Access is the primary developer and distributor of Nvda, Nvda is contributed to by many blind and vision impaired people across the world. Right from its beginning, Nvda has been an open source project. There were many reasons we developed Nvda in this way. The first was because this enforced the ideal that it would always be freely available to anyone who needed it. Second, we knew that a project of this size and complexity could really benefit from input and contributions from the blindness community. And finally, we believed that for too long, screen reading techniques had been locked up in the proprietary world. For instance, each time a new screen reader project was started, programmers had to reinvent the wheel. There was no reference, no baseline from which to start, and Nvda would be a chance to open this up and allow the blind and vision impaired community to access and learn from the code, knowledge and techniques that help them access computers each and every day. Nvda has had contributions from over 150 people around the world, ranging from code to documentation to translations. Indeed, it's our many voluntary translators that make it possible for Nvda to be used in so many countries. Nvda's vast language support is especially relevant here in the Asia-Pacific region due to the number of different languages around. In many cases, members of the Nvda community have created their own development and translation teams around a specific language or culture. This work has collectively made a real difference, as without it, many blind people in this region would not be able to access or contribute to information in their own culture or language. Following are some examples of the work undertaken by some of the teams in the Asia-Pacific region. The Nvda Japanese team, headed by Takuya Nishimoto, worked on initial support of Japanese character input, produced an Nvda add-on for the JTalk Japanese speech synthesizer, and also in September 2012 hosted a rather successful Nvda Asia Summit, which I attended. The Hong Kong Blind Union has been very active in the Nvda project, having created their own Chinese version of Nvda. This version, thanks to the skills of Timothy Lee and help from others, contains support for Chinese character input and a virtual synthesizer driver that can change between languages on the fly. The National Council for the Blind in Malaysia were very active in ensuring that Nvda was translated into their native language, which included getting support for this language into the eSpeak speech synthesizer so that Nvda could speak Malay without requiring a separate speech synthesizer. NCBM has also worked in conjunction with the Japanese Braille Library to host ICT training camps for blind youth in the Asia-Pacific region using Nvda as the screen reader of choice. Groups in Taiwan have invested time and resources into Nvda for several years now. The Taiwan Digital Talking Book Association offers training in Nvda, and together with the Hong Kong Blind Union have provided funding to NV Access to unify and complete the support for Asia character input in Nvda, covering Japanese, several Chinese input systems and Korean. Thanks go to both Dr. Jerry Wong and Aaron Wu for coordinating much of Taiwan's efforts. The Thailand Association of the Blind, with specific mention to Senator Monty Bunting, coordinated a funding drive to gather funds for NV Access to implement much needed support for Microsoft PowerPoint in Nvda. Many blindness agencies across the globe, including the Thailand Association of the Blind itself, contributed to this fund. And this is certainly a great example of how the blindness community was able to pull together and achieve something that they all wanted, namely to access PowerPoint presentations without the requirement of an expensive commercial screen reader. Let us not also forget the great work that's going on in India right now. Nvda is being translated into several Indian languages, and around 14 new Indian languages are being contributed to the eSpeak speech synthesizer, ensuring that Nvda is able to speak these languages right out of the box. India is also an example of where larger organisations are getting involved with Nvda. Sapient Global Markets have been employing developers to work on Nvda development in areas such as Microsoft Office enhancements and other Indian-specific needs. Both the International Council for the Educators of the Vision Impaired and the Australian Charity for the Children of Vietnam have separately been instrumental in providing Vietnamese blind people with access to computers with Nvda, including training. And Aspen Medical, an Australian medical organisation, with the help of guidance of an individual, Ben Clare, have been rolling out Nvda in the Solomon Islands. This year, NVDA Access has been rather busy itself. We've so far made 3 new releases of NVDA, with a 4th due in a week or so. Notable enhancements to NVDA this year have been greatly enhanced support in Microsoft Word, including automatic column and row header reading, improvements the same with Excel as well. We've added support for reading the location of shapes in PowerPoint slides, which is going to make it even easier for people to edit PowerPoint slides, and also the ability to type in Vietnamese with the popular Unikey keyboard software. A grant from the Nippon Foundation has meant we've been able to this year hire a general manager. Gary Baxter has so far helped us implement a corporate support model so that we can offer second-level technical support to corporates. And he's scoped work for the official NVDA training material we're preparing and has put that out to tender, and has continued to seek further philanthropic funding for us so we can continue doing our work. The lack of official training material and technical support is something that many people have identified to us as being a barrier to NVDA uptake. So we recognise the importance of this and are definitely working towards a solution. The hope is to firstly have a set of accessible text-based training materials for NVDA in the not-too-distant future, with the aim of also putting in place a certification system around this training to ensure quality from those offering training in their own local communities. And it looks like we're well on the way to achieving this goal very soon. As for user-level technical support, NVDA Access is very pleased to announce its relationship with iRead, a global online training and support service for NVDA. iRead has already been able to remotely train and support people in Australia, the Philippines and Malaysia to use screen readers at very affordable rates. And we're even more pleased to say that iRead is run entirely by persons with disabilities. It's great that a technician in a wheelchair from his home in Vietnam or the Philippines can remotely train and support the blind remotely anywhere in the world to use NVDA. So you can get the service from as little as $10 an hour, and you can receive technical support from iRead no matter where you live. So users have been asking for this kind of support for many years now for NVDA, so please try them out at iRead.com, that's EYREAD.com. NVDA Access has also been further developing NVDA with more enhancements to be introduced in the not-too-distant future. Features including quick navigation and elements list for Microsoft Word documents and HTML, better HTML messages reading in Outlook. Support for navigating and reading math content in both speech and braille, something I guess a passion we share with the DAISY consortium there. We think that's very important, and work is definitely underway in NVDA for that. The ability to use NVDA with Microsoft Remote Desktop and Citrix services, and also to remote control NVDA as well for technical support. NVDA has directly helped tens of thousands by providing them with affordable access to computers and the internet. But its impact reaches far beyond the direct benefits to its users. Nvda has helped to change the landscape of an industry where fully featured free or low-cost products were previously thought of as an unrealistic dream. It's provided greater competition in the assistive technology space, thus driving continued innovation in this space. Both Nvda and Nvda Access have played a significant part in pushing the accessibility industry forward, particularly in the area of web accessibility. Because Nvda is free and unrestricted, more developers are able to test with a screen reader when implementing accessibility in their own products, lowering even more barriers to accessibility. All of this ensures the importance and relevance to our work now and into the future, even despite the emergence of other free options, such as Windows for users of Microsoft Office, which interestingly has had no noticeable impact on Nvda's uptake. Nvda is making a real difference in the Asia-Pacific region, and many people are either contributing or making use of Nvda in wonderful and innovative ways. But in order to achieve even greater benefit, we must all work together. I'd love to speak with as many of you as possible today or tomorrow, if I haven't spoken to you already, to get your feedback on Nvda and to understand just how it's been used in your own community. If we can coordinate our efforts, we can ensure that the right people are working on Nvda development, that trainers that have the most up-to-date information on Nvda, and that funding is used in the wisest way possible. We, as the blindness community, must take control of the problems we face when trying to access technologies. Nvda is free, it's developed by users for users, so let's work together on Nvda and make it the best assistive technology it can be so that we can move even further forward on our right to read.
Thanks very much, Michael, and that's a real living example of the importance of nothing about us without us. It's fantastic. Thank you. We will, we're getting very close to the clock.